Hi, I'm Shannyn Caldwell, and this is The Healing Season. I'm an author, a speaker, a holistic health practitioner, and a follower of Jesus. By the end of this podcast, you'll have learned something new or something more about healing. We'll focus in on one gentle way you can heal a little more, starting today. Stick around week after week and you'll see how it all adds up to a most peaceful and joyful you. And keep it up month after month. And now we're literally talking about a healing season. This podcast drops on Tuesdays. Thanks for everybody who's reached out to me. I'm so glad that you're finding this helpful to you. Today on the podcast, we're talking about Christian yoga. Well, when a Christian does a yoga, it automatically becomes Christian yoga. And if that already feels not right to you, then I completely honor that, respect that. And I would encourage you to just move right along because not everything is for everyone. For me, yoga was a lifesaver before I knew Jesus. You know, my mom and dad, if you don't know my story, were killed in a tornado in 1999. And by 2001, I was in a really hard marriage and I needed to find a way to find some peace. And God, I do believe, gave me the gift of going to a yoga practice. I saw a lady at a Chinese restaurant and she looked like the most peaceful person I'd ever seen. I was like, I need some of that. Where's this peace coming from? And she told me she went to the Detroit Zen Center. And so I went there and I met my first yoga teachers. And thank God I did, because I really do. I feel like it might have very well saved my life. I know that later on, thanks be to God, Jesus saved my soul. He showed me a way out of like the debt of my own sin, if you'll pardon the Christianese, or like the weight of karma, if you'll pardon the Eastern mysticism. He set me free. But I also am so thankful for yoga because I have this body that I live in, you know, and it also needs some attention, not just my soul, because otherwise my nervous system feels like an ant colony and my digestive system gets all jammed up. And so this has been great for me, and I hope that it's helpful for you too. Hey, by the way, if you're looking to learn more about Christian yoga, can I start with a recommendation? Yahweh Yoga. That is where I did my teacher certification. They have a ton of materials out there, DVDs on YouTube and on their website. And they also do certified with Yoga Alliance Christian teacher training. So, and no, that is in no way an endorsement. Well, it's an endorsement, but nobody's paying me anything. Like, I am so like, I love Yahweh Yoga. Love with all caps. Bold font. There you go. When I first got saved by Jesus, there were a lot of things in my life that he started to ask me to put down and step away from and not do anymore. And then he still is. I'm still working on some of those things to this day. Like, he had me get rid of all my yoga statues and all this stuff, but he never had me get rid of yoga. And I ask him on a regular basis. And when he tells me to ditch something, I do my very best to ditch it. So I'm just trusting that, you know, yet again, that this is A-okay with the Most High King. But if you are not feeling it's all right with your relationship, if he's asking you to put it down, then I support that message. And I will catch you on the next podcast, or you can go back and binge episodes 1 through 8. Okay. And we'll catch you next week. All right. Now, here's the scripture that I really do lean on myself when I came down to it, to dig it out in the Bible, like, because if I just feel one way doesn't mean it is that way. So if the Bible says one thing and I think another, I back on the Bible, not me, because I might not even agree with me this time next year. Right. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So here's the scripture that I go with when I ask the Bible this question. It says in 1 Corinthians 8, it's talking about whether or not people who are Christians should be part of the practice of eating food, meat, that had been sacrificed to a temple god. Because they used to do that, right? Sacrifice an animal and then feast on the meat. And the Christians were like, kind of like I was with my yoga statues. Should I do this anymore? And with the statues, God said, get rid of them. But with the yoga, he said, stay for me. With this, God is telling them in 1 Corinthians 8 not to sacrifice their hearts to the idols, but that it is okay to eat the sacrificial meat. However, there is a caveat in there. And it's deeper than that. Go ahead and read the rest of it. 1 Corinthians 8 is where I'm at. But it does say this, like, just because it's a-okay for you to eat the meat, don't eat it around somebody if it's going to cause them to stumble. Like, here's a different example of that. Say that you are on a girls' night out with a friend who is a recovering alcoholic. And, she's fine with going on a girls' night out. But if you guys are all like, let's get a picture of like fill in your alcoholic beverage of choice, that might make it harder on her. And if that were the case, then skip it that night. Like, let's get virgin margaritas and have a blast, right? So that's kind of like the same here. It's okay to eat the meat. And I'm transferring that directly to, it's okay for me to roll out my yoga mat and put my body through these paces that God downloaded into the human being way before he sent Jesus. Like, I can't blame the timeline. I feel like talk to God about it. I'm just so, so thankful that he gave this to us. When I first met my yoga teachers, I was depressed with a capital D, depressed in the D. That could have been me. Detroit, Michigan is where I met my first yoga teachers, like Chris, Tracy, Sarah. They were at the Detroit Zen Center, and they were some of the first people in my whole life, maybe you've never heard this before, to say to me, it's okay to open your heart. You're safe here. Breathe. Good. Gentle. Honestly, I would have given them the money just to go there and have somebody talk nice to me for an hour. Like, just say sweet things like good and gentle, and I'm here for it. I was here for it already. But the idea of opening my heart ended up having a really profound impact. Like, I didn't realize how closed my heart was. And sometimes that opening of the heart, here, let's just try it right now. Okay. And I'm not talking like open heart surgery, and God himself, like Jesus, is like, the Bible calls him the divine physician. And I know he's done some open heart surgery on me, but I'm talking about putting our bodies into a position that allows optimism and joy and peace to follow, right? Like, you know how I'm saying, like, when you're sitting at your computer and your shoulders are slumped forward and your hands are so tired from texting all day and your head is looking down from looking at all that blue light on your device all day long. I feel my shoulders tight just thinking about it. What about you? Are you sort of in that position right now? That forward folding texting position? All right. Now let's go ahead and let's open our hearts and do a small. Don't worry. When I say that we're going to do back bends to open our hearts, I'm not talking about, becoming Cirque du Soleil contortionists. Opening your heart and bending your back, you can do while you're just sitting here right now. Maybe you're at your desk. Let's try it. Okay. First, find your breath. Yoga means union, the union of one movement to one breath. One movement, one breath. We're here to connect with our Creator, to stop being so distracted by our body, even though from the outside, any of the physical practices might look like they're about a body, but everybody knows sometimes going on. I'm not a runner girl, but my runner friends, like my friend Amy, that's her time with God, Don't be confused by the idea that a physical practice is about the body. You can make an idol out of the way your body looks too. But God gave us a temple and we live in it. And he gave us ways to take good care of it. And one of the ways that we can do that is by making sure we don't close down our hearts. So let's go ahead. Start by, with an inhale, drawing your shoulder blades together on your back. You know those little things look like wings back there? Yeah, see about drawing them together. Good. Now exhale, just relax. Relax your seat, relax your hips, Relax your forehead, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders. Let your shoulders go down. And on an inhale, draw your shoulder blades together again and use your breath to lift your heart. Good. Exhale, release the jaw, release the shoulders. Good. Inhale, see about just using those shoulder blades to just, even in your mind's eye, tip your heart even further forward, even arch your back just a tiny little bit. Only do what feels comfortable and safe in your body. Good. Draw your shoulder blades down, relax your jaw, relax your forehead. Good. And exhale, go ahead and release. Now doesn't even just that feel like a considerable amount of work? Like, we don't need to go to the sweatiest class on earth to actually feel the effects of these in our body. So let's go ahead. And if that felt like enough and you're ready to go further, let's try to deepen this back bend just a tiny bit, okay? What do you say you interlace your fingers behind your back? Good. And then you can work to draw your elbows closer together and feel how the whole horizon of your heart expands. Good. Now take a nice deep breath there. Invite the peace of Jesus into your heart on your inhale. And on your exhale, just release anything that feels like darkness or fear. Good. And let your shoulders come down and maybe work to straighten your arms. Good. Now, if you did straighten your arms there, see about maybe bringing the palms of your hands together. And check in with your rib cage. Make sure it's not flaring up. If you flared out your rib cage, go ahead and just buckle yourself back in. Draw your belly in toward your spine. Good. We're going to draw all the way in and then exhale. Draw your shoulder blades a little further down while you reach up through the crown of your head. Visualize maybe that crown that one day we will cast before him. Visualize a beautiful crown on the top of your head and its spires just going to the heavens while your long neck grows even longer and your shoulders grow heavy. Relax your hips and exhale. Good. Now just release your hands. Again, didn't that feel like quite a bit of work with just a simple, and do you feel your heart now? Breathe into your heart. Good. Imagine the light of God filling your heart. Now shine your light back out. Imagine it shining through your heart and up through the crown of your head. Imagine that light just relaxing your jaw, relaxing your eyes, relaxing your shoulders, and changing the entire atmosphere, not just of your body, but of your environment. You can take it with you. Good. You want to go a little bit deeper in your back bend? Why don't we try this? Go ahead and inhale those hands above your head and interlace your fingers. Good. Now exhale and flip your hands over to press those palms up toward the sky. Good. Now, if you've got it in you, go ahead and gaze up. Look up. Lengthen your neck and lengthen your shoulder blades down. Inhale, lift your heart. Good. Exhale, maybe gaze a little bit further back, gently with your neck. Looking, maybe you can see the wall behind you. Soften your jaw, soften your brow. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Inhale, lift your heart. Good. Now exhale, go ahead and come back up to center and release your hands down. Good. Give your arm a shake. Now we've just been back bending for a couple of minutes now. Tell me, do you feel any different now than you did before you started the back bending? Do you feel lighter in your spirit? Do you feel more optimistic? Because I feel like back bends are joy generators, like energy generators. You know what? It's completely built into the human. You can't tell me it isn't. Every day when you get up in the morning, don't you want to stretch? Don't you want to draw your shoulder blades on your back and open up your heart and arch your back? Don't you want to let the energy come right out your fingertips? Of course you do. Right. That's how God made you, beautiful. So check this out. And God did make you beautiful, by the way. Every good back bend deserves a decent forward fold. And if you're looking for a way to energize yourself, and I used it when I was like in my deepest times of depression right after the tornado, or when my marriage was new and I was shocked that it was bad, I used to just prop myself up with pillows. You can Google restorative yoga. The texts that are out there are fantastic. And again, Yahweh Yoga's got a DVD about it if you want to check it out. But basically, I'd put myself into a heart opening back bend and just prop myself up with pillows and blankets so that I didn't have to hold the pose at all. And my body would just get used to my heart opening. I had it closed and closed and closed and closed. And it was just so good to just be supported by opening. So I would really invite you into that too. I'm so excited to share this tool with you. But every good back bend deserves a forward fold. It's a good way to say to your spine, like, calm down. It's calming to your central nervous system. And so even if you're sitting in your chair right now and you just want to let your head hang heavy between your knees to reset, or if you would like to, maybe you're sitting on the floor and you want to straighten your legs out, hip width distance apart, and just walk your fingers forward to your thighs, knees, shins, ankles, toes, whatever works for you, and let your head get heavy. You can even, again, bolster yourself up with some pillows there so that you can stay there for a good long time and get a nice, deep, juicy stretch. Forward folding is just a good way to say to your body, be still. Know that He is God. We have to talk about child's pose too, because it is, rest comes first. Rest is holy, and grace is the new grind at the healing season. And so child's pose is one of the, obviously by nature of its very name, simplest poses there is, but it's one of the most restorative poses also that there is. And so to take child's pose, and I know that you can Google this, or by the way, let me invite you, join me on my socials and I will post some pictures of these poses for you. How about that? I'm going to post a little video of the back bends and I'll post a photograph of child's pose for you. You can follow me, Shannyn Caldwell, on Instagram, and you can find the healing season at facebook.com/healing season. Okay. Shannyn with a Y, Shannyn, like it's spelled right there on that picture for this podcast. Caldwell. You can find me on Instagram that way, or the Facebook page, facebook.com/healing season. Those pages are merged, like they're the same essentially. So join me there and I'll post a picture of this for you. I think I can talk you through child's pose. You take it when you're sitting on the floor, okay? So make your way safely to the floor. And then just, if you could, sit on your knees with your feet right behind your glutes, right? So you're sitting on your feet, knees bent, okay? Now go ahead and take your knees wide, at least as wide as your belly, wider than your hips, so that you can walk your fingers forward and lay your head on the ground. Now, if all of this stuff is just way beyond where your body wants to stretch, then here, try this. Sitting at a desk, push yourself back so that your head just barely touches the desk. Go ahead and lay your forehead down on the desk and stretch your arms straight. You're going to find that to be restorative as well. Child's pose is even more restorative if you can get your hips above your head and get some nice gentle blood flow back to your brain. And so I'll post a few different options for child's pose on my socials as well, okay? Man, I am so grateful that we've had this time together. Take all the delicious time that you need in child's pose as well, by the way. You can stay in these poses for seconds or for 5 minutes or more. So there's a couple of options for you, okay? Easy back bending, easy child's poses, easy forward folding. And this is just a very basic way for us to remind ourselves to be gentle with ourselves and to open up our beautiful hearts. I've got some books out there if you're interested in checking them out. My testimony is a book called The Healing Season, How a Deadly Tornado Wrecked and Reshaped My Faith. It's on Amazon, wherever you find books, and there's an audiobook on Audible as well. I've also got a companion book, The 40-Day Healing Season, Moving from Devastation to Restoration. That's a prayer and grief journal. It's what I initially did for my first ever healing season, and I share it with you. There's a small group DVD that goes along with that, and a book called Raised Catholic. You can find those out there wherever books are sold, including probably a thrift store or two at this point. The website, thehealingseason.com. If you want to get with me about any kind of coaching or inviting me to speak, I'm here for that conversation. You can message me through the podcast or through my website as well. If you were wondering about last week's poll, the resounding winner of the very favorite herbal tea was chamomile. I thought that it might be close between chamomile and peppermint, and it wasn't even close. No shade, peppermint. You know I'll always love you. Hey, thanks for spending time with the Healing Season today. Share it with your friends. You're the best for doing it, and take what works for you. Feel free to just laugh at the rest, because laughter is healing too. And if no one else has told you this yet, healing looks great on you. So I will see you next week right here on The Healing Season.